Right, so yeah, as I was introduced, I'm Anika Pawlak. I am an undergraduate student at Duke, and the program two major that I'm studying, essentially, I just couldn't make up a decision of what I wanted to study, so I combined a bunch of things and made it myself. It's called Reimagining the Aging, Dying, and End of Life Care Experience, and through that program, I've had the opportunity to kind of take a really multidisciplinary view of how we've aged historically in different cultures and how it happens now, but also more importantly, like how people want to age and die and ways that we can get there with innovative care opportunities. So, what we'll chat a little bit about today is creative engagement, what it is, what we can use it for, how I've kind of experienced that in caring for people with dementia. We'll get a little bit of interactive practice going, and then we'll talk about some summaries to take away from this. We've heard a lot about pathology and potential treatments and what dementia looks like. But I'm here to talk again a little bit about how we can learn to live with the disease and releasing that burdensome expectation of memory and just kind of open each other up to the opportunity of creativity and connecting through this medium. So what is creative engagement? That's really a very important question before we continue. It's an extremely broad umbrella term that kind of encompasses any and all artistic modalities that can be used to capture attention. And I think an important delineation to make here is between conventional activities that you might see at your local nursing home like bingo or balloon toss. These creative engagements really enable us to dig into our own person that's underneath the disease and see what's still there and connect through this medium. Oftentimes with cognitive decline, people feel that their authority and autonomy has kind of been taken away. But through creative engagement mediums, we re-give them that power of being the storyteller, re-give that independence that sometimes is a little bit lacking when we connect with people with Alzheimer's and dementia. So again, these artistic opportunities are not memory dependent. I think that's kind of at the core, and they really focus on building connections and joy through alternative mediums. So this may seem really abstract right now, and that's because it is. A lot of things can be creative engagement, and we'll talk a little bit about what these things are, how you can use them, and yeah, where to go from here. And I know a lot of you might be thinking, okay, Anika, like that sounds really great, but I am not artistic, I'm not creative, I can't do this. And trust me, I was completely in your shoes when I started learning about creative engagement as well, but it's extremely user-friendly and you can lean into whatever modality feels right to you and bring that into your communities and people that you're working with dementia. So yeah, just to talk a little bit about my experience with creative engagement, where I've come from, just to give a little bit of context for why I'm up here talking to you. I am currently the Director of Community and Student Engagement for an undergraduate student organization at Duke called Helping Hands for Alzheimer's and Other Neurological Disorders. We train student volunteers in methods of creative engagement and then connect with community partners including Crowsdale, Durham Center for Senior Life, Duke Dementia Family Support, to name a few, and we send these volunteers off into the community to connect with older adults through these meaningful engagements. And from the responses we've gotten from our volunteers and from our site partners, these relationships and connections that are built are really meaningful, and I believe that the art modalities are what enable that. So I'll talk a little more about now what kind of methodology that we use, and that is time slips primarily. This is a creative engagement methodology that was developed by Dr. Ann Basting, who is a professor of the arts and drama and also a gerontologist at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She created this program called Time Slips that uses beautiful questions to inspire creativity and wonderment in those living with dementia. I love that term, wonderment. It's very fitting. With Time Slips, we have been able to understand that creativity expands beyond, orchestra performances and ballet to just concepts of everyday life. Even from accessorizing an outfit to finding a new way to get somewhere when a road is closed. Like all of these things encompass the fact that we are all creative on an innate level. And I think this is something that Time Slips really lifts up and that Dr. Basting and her program have really taught me. So we'll talk a little bit about how we do this Time Slips. This is a lovely picture of some people hiking up a mountain. I'm pretty sure our volunteers just found it. It's a stock image with no intrinsic meaning or value, right? Like, it's just a little picture. But that's kind of an exciting place to start with this creative engagement, something that's not inherently creative. We'll start by asking a question to a group of individuals like, what's going on here? What's happening in this picture? It helps us kind of set the scene, see what's sticking out to our participants, and then we build on that. Like, how do these people know each other? Where are they going? What are they doing? What will they do after this? And from this non-important picture, we build a story, meaning, and depth through collective creativity. So I would like to read to you a story that one of our groups of participants made about this picture. I'll only read about half of it because it is a little long, but I think it kind of helps set an understanding of what this Time Slips methodology does. So the story is called Walking, We Will Go. Hiking with poles and backpacks, they are all equipped. They know each other, two couples walking together. Frank and Sandra, Beth and Charlie. Charlie organized the trip. He's in front and brought his friends with him. The wives know each other from the grocery stores, and the guys know each other through the wives. They worked in similar occupations, might be co-workers, and know each other from work. Their jobs were to manufacture and assemble cars because they look strong. The wives stay at home and enjoy walking and going on strolls. They are going up steep terrain, so they are in shape. They have the right equipment and clothing, so they've gone hiking and climbing a lot. There are big rocks in the background, and they are going up the hill. When they get to the top, they will look down on the valley. So again, the story continues to add more sensory details, things like animals and sights and sounds and smells that we will see on the trip. But something to notice about this story is that there's a lot of contradictory points, like, oh, maybe the men met each other through the wives, but oh, maybe they met at work. And I think that's a really beautiful part of creative engagement, using this Time Slips methodology as well, is that there are absolutely no wrong answers. Everything is accepted, and every new possibility that's presented adds another layer of meaning to this possible story made from this picture. And logistically, as the participants tell the story, our volunteers are taking notes of verbatim what the individuals are saying, and then at the end we read the story back and give it a title. So again, this concept really emphasizes that individual creativity, answering these questions into collective creative product, this story that we now have and get to share with others. So I think in that respect, that's what's really meaningful about the storytelling component of Time Slips. And again, no artistic talent is required. We just ask, kind of intuitive questions about what's going on in this picture. But beautiful questions don't have to just be about stories. They also enable us to get more in touch with our senses and, think of a reality that's a little bit different than the one we're living in. So some of my favorites right now are, what is the most beautiful sound in the world? I'd love for you to, maybe reflect on some of these, take them with you, think about them at home. But some others are, what does Halloween smell like? How would a grizzly bear dance? So some things that maybe you don't necessarily think about in your everyday life, but questions that absolutely inspire us to be creative and think, again, outside of this reality that we're living in. So now, you guys get to try. I would love for you to turn and talk with some people at your table and lean into this idea of the beautiful question, connecting with our senses. So since this is the penultimate day of summer, we're going to turn to our fall season, and I have a question for you. What does fall smell like? What smells remind you of the fall season? So please, we'll take just a minute. Please turn and talk with the people at your table. Think about that beautiful question for just a moment. I feel like I want to put my hands like this.
Charm, like the charm at the toilet.
Oh my god, the toilet paper. I feel like that or the corduroy one, with the missing button.
I thought about that now.
one part cute and one part really frightening.
That's crazy. Awesome. All right, we'll bring it back together. Okay, I hope that gave you kind of a sense of, the really limit of, you know, assumed creativity that you need to answer these beautiful questions. Because really it's just thinking about your life and your environment and your senses in a new way. I've also provided a question in your, or a picture, I guess, in your pamphlets of that you could use for a time slip story. We don't have time for that right now, but I encourage you to go home, think up some questions that you could ask about this picture, and practice by yourselves. So again, creative engagement is not limited to just time slips. This is simply a method that I've been connected with through Duke Hand and DII. But it expands into all universes of artistic modality, including music, as we saw from the Durham Medical Orchestra, like dance, as we'll probably hear about from Dr. Wilbur later on, but also poetry. I recently heard a poem that was written by a woman with dementia about her experience, and it completely changed the way that I'd never heard anything written like that before. And also drama and improv and theater. Dr. Basting, who developed time slips, also did some work reinterpreting the Odyssey with residents at an assisted living facility in Wisconsin, which really created some beautiful results as well. And so many more. Really, at the end of the day, we just want you to lean into the creative modalities that feel right to you and the person with dementia that you're working with to connect on this level that doesn't require memory. So in conclusion, creative engagement is an amazing way to connect with people with dementia without this reliance on memory. Time slips is one way to do that, but at the end of the day, it is a choose your own adventure. We need to lean into the practice that speaks to you and go from there. So I challenge you to tap into your creativity and lean into the what ifs, the yes ands, and all that is possible when we release ourselves from this burden and expectation of memory. Thank you.